Hi, friends.
It is Tuesday again, and we're
Wait,
gathering today
just
to have a conversation about the one thing,
just one thing.
just one thing.
Just one thing.
And I'm a little excited for today's because we get to talk about Ebenezer Scrooge.
Y- Are you projecting?
Maybe. Wow, you guys, I need to hear something good. The energy on, I'm not in the room, but the energy in my Zoom is a little eh. So tell me something good. Don't be shy.
Got a listing under agreement for the third time. Let's hope it sticks.
Third time's a charm, my friend.
Yes, it sticks. I'm putting it out to the universe. It is your third offer, the best offer.
Well, you know what's funny is the agent is a Keller Williams agent. And he's like, we looked at it and I sent it to her and she's like, yeah, no, I don't like ranches. And then it came off the market. And then it came back on the market and the husband said something and he said he wanted to go see it and then it went off the market. And then next thing you know, it's withdrawn from the market and he was going to call me. And then all of a sudden he said it was on the market.
I love it.
So I said, I think this house was meant for your clients.
Yes.
Love
Sometimes
that.
houses wait for the right person. It's pretty wild how that happens.
Yes, I believe I always tell my clients, especially buyers, don't worry about the houses you miss because they weren't supposed to be your house. Your house is yet to be seen.
100%. All right. That was one good thing. I want to hear another. Give me another good thing. Need some good energy going. Tell me something good.
I'll share
Go for it.
something. I just got a call that a closing that kept getting pushed is scheduled for Friday morning.
Woo-hoo.
Ooh, snaps
Loving
on
I'm excited.
it.
My clients are very excited. I'm on the buy side, so.
Awesome. All right. One more. David.
Hi, Lindsay just got her first dual-sided, right? The buyer and the seller
Woo!
weekend. So
Christmas is coming to the Blanco household.
I love it. Brooke, tell me something good in your world.
Oh, so I know a couple of our agents from the region that got picked to be part of the Get Command demos, and their stories are going to be going live soon. And being able to be the person who gives that good news, it's so much fun. I just love every second of it. I just get so excited. So this is why I ask for your stories, your wins all the time, because when I get to win through you guys and I get to tell your stories to KW, they're going to bring you on. They're going to call you and get you on their YouTubies. And that is such a great thing for your business to be featured by Keller Williams International. Oh my God, the referrals that come in because people want to work with other like agents. Like I have extra dimples from smiling so much. Like I have dimples to begin with, but now my face hurts.
I love it. All right. You think we should get into the content?
Mm-hmm.
I think we should get into the content.
Maybe.
So while we're planning, why I'm getting myself situated. Last week we talked about the question.
Yep.
Perfect. So the question, let's talk about the question. What was the question?
Anybody remember?
It's the whole reason the book was written.
Focus. It's focus. The focusing question. The focus.
What's the one thing that I can do that by doing so makes everything else unnecessary or unimportant? I think I got those two backwards.
Unnecessary.
Yes. 100%. And we dove into asking that question in all 7 circles of our life.
Right. And somebody was really vulnerable last week, and I don't know if they're on the call today. I don't think I see them, but one of the things we talked about were our chaos piles.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What would it look like for you if someone came in and cleaned, or you were able to even just have somebody do the dishes, put the dishes away, right? We talked about leveraging not only things in business, but our personal life and what kind of impact would that make on the other parts of our lives to free you up for other things? I know we talked about a lot of deep things last week, but I think it was also really freeing and wonderful to see that all the like everybody's heads were bobbing. Like, yes, I have chaos piles. When I work from home, I feel overwhelmed because my house isn't clean. And that's all I focus on, except for Karina. But like, it was so wonderful to see everybody feel those same things. And for me, that was like my greatest aha is that, hey guys, we're all in this. We're all fighting those same battles. And we're all trying to just get to the next step or focus in on that one thing.
Absolutely. So last week it was all about the question. This week is all about the great answers.
The truth.
The truth.
Can't handle the truth.
The path to great questions. Great answers. We already asked the questions. So people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. Right? Who can relate? Yep, exactly. So if there is a future that you desire to see, stop dwelling on that future that you desire to see and start dwelling on what habit do I have to put into place today so that that future could look like that.
And we talk a lot about this perfection paralysis we have. Portia Mai, she's one of the agents I've done it to where we sat together and I had control of her command. And I just select all deployed something and she almost had a heart attack, but it worked.
Because it works.
Because we have to rip off the Band-Aid sometime and get out of our own way to be able to see the results that are going to happen.
Absolutely. This chapter has tons of graphs, which I love graphs, right? So the focusing question helps you identify your one thing in any situation. It will clarify what you want in the big areas of your life and then drill down to what you must do to get them in the future. Not get them today, them in the future, right? So what is that big overlying broad goal that you want to make happen? And then specifically, what do you have to do today? It's really a simple process. You ask a great question, then you seek out the great answers. It's 2 steps. Ask the question, research the answers.
Or you mean the answers just don't magically appear?
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't it be nice? Yeah.
I don't have a MREA genie in a bottle.
I wish we did. Well, we kind of do.
We
Because
do.
you know what? The models
looking
and
at
the models and the systems are there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to take action.
We do.
And then the creativity comes after you take action on the systems and models and have gone past what has already been delivered, right? So you ask a great question, you think big, you think specific. Brooke, what is a big thinking item that you have in your world right now?
Oh my God, you need one. Well, let's talk about what we talked about on our coaching thing this morning is how can I finish my big certification?
Yes. Right? Now that's a broad question. How can I finish how can I finish my certification? But it's not specific.
So how can I get purposeful about making the time and the space to finish my lessons to get my certification?
And by when?
And by when? Yeah, right. I have to put a date on it.
So you have to find the great answers. You do the research and you look for role models. Who has gone before you, right? So we love quadrants, we love 4s, we love circles. This is just our thing, right? Big and broad, small and broad. When you make it broad, it's like, I want to double my business. That's big and broad. I want to add 15 people to my database, small and broad. So how do you take it from big and broad to big and specific, like what Brooke did? So everybody take out a piece of paper. What is your goal for 2023? Write it down.
Of course, I grab a pen that doesn't work.
All right, somebody who thinks quick, writes quick. Give me your big goal for 2023.
The net 100 grand.
Ooh.
Okay. So to
I
net
didn't
100
say that.
What did you mean to say? 1 million? I like a bigger number. Let's go bigger. Yep, let's go bigger. What are we giving her for a goal?
I think 500,000.
I think so. She is so able to.
Look at that face. Take
No,
yourself off mute. What would you like to truly say?
that is what I truly wanted to say, but I didn't want to say it out loud.
We did a great job.
Ah, so
I-
you want a net after taxes, after expenses. You have $100,000 in your pocket to do whatever you desire with.
Correct.
This is not name the price. Like, this is not when you're in the spinny wheel game, David, when you're like $1.
So if you told me that that's your desire in 2023, if you added that on the end, I would say that's big and specific. Right? So now tell me, what's one small specific action that you need to take in the next 24 hours to make that goal happen?
Call my sphere.
Call your sphere. Why do we fight calling our sphere? You said that with such
I
non-enthusiasm.
know.
People love you. They want to hear from you. They want to know that you're in their world.
Yeah, I know. I'm just exhausted.
Yeah, preach.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Getting to the end of the year.
But this is when everybody else shuts down. So this is where you amp up. So take Thanksgiving week off, rejuvenate, and go all in from the end of that weekend until December 31st, and you will be well ahead of everyone else in your world. Unless they're on this call, of course. So now, here's the example that I started with. What can I do to double sales? That is broad and really big, but
Big.
broad. And then what can I do to double sales in 6 months? Now that's specific, right?
Mhm.
So then the small is, what can I do to increase sales? So that wasn't really a big goal. It was just what can I do to increase sales? And then what can I do to increase sales by 5% this year?
Hold on, 5% doesn't feel painful,
This is not my example.
but 5% is not
This is
painful in
Terry
this
Kelly's
question.
example.
Exactly, but that's not. But if you think about it, look how small and specific he got. 5% is not a huge increase.
Yeah. I know in my world, I'm like, how do I increase my income by $20,000 a month? Right?
How do you quadruple? Yeah, okay.
Right? That's, but 5%, small, specific, make it happen. And you need both of those in your life, right? Like I feel strongly that broad, big goal, that's probably your 5-year goal or your 1-year goal or your 3-year goal. But when you go small, that's your, what do I do? And I agree. I would actually, if I were doing this exercise, I would say, what can I do to increase sales by 5% in the next 3 months or the next 2 months, right? How do I make that small? Because a year, that's a lot of time. So then when we ask the great questions, and then we have the ability to find the great answers, it makes it doable. It stretches your abilities and it opens up other possibilities. And you should feel and you should feel uncomfortable, right?
Oh, yes. I love uncomfortable. Like, that means, and it's funny because when you get, I know everybody's laughing, but it's when you're in this world and you finally understand and you've got these little light bulb moments of aha, like, oh, why is this so difficult? Oh, yeah, I'm growing. I'm growing. And it's not supposed to be comfortable because if it is, you're not growing hard enough, big enough.
Yeah. I use my Peloton for an example. So I turned 49. I said, all right, I'm going to get an exercise and I'm going to make things happen. And My goal is to exercise 75 minutes a day. So since Friday, I've been amping up to 75 minutes. Last night I did 60, but at 15 minutes to goal, I really want to be done.
I start like counting down. Okay, if I were to stop now, like I come up with all these excuses in the last 15 minutes.
And then when I get to 4 minutes, I'm like, if I quit now, I'm just a loser. So stop.
And
it.
then she has to text it to me and Jen. So and she's like, I can't have that. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah. You guys don't text back though.
I thumbs up.
So now you set a benchmark, right? And this one's interesting because if you look at the bottom part, that's going downwards, right? And the upward part, the arrows on the upward side, those are the possibilities. So you have a benchmark, you're here. So you're going to end 2022 at this point. There's your benchmark. Now, are you trending in 22 downward or are you trending upward? So this is that momentum piece of why you don't want to really take your foot off the gas over the last month, because it's a lot easier to keep the momentum going as you cross over the new year than it is to January 1st start all over again. And this is where you have to ask great questions and get new answers, right? Because the new answers require new behaviors.
And they're going to shift proof your business as well. Things like you have to take, when you're looking at this benchmark and your possibility and your trends, it's also looking at the things that you were doing and understanding if they're providing return and taking a look at those return methods and are they worth, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yep.
In the shift.
Brooke, you're going to love this. There's this book called The Gain and the Gap.
Guys, sidebar, she gives me at least 5 books a day. 5. I have a list in my phone that would make you throw up. And while I've read The Gap and Gain, like she laughs every time now because I almost started crying in the elevator at Leadership Fundamentals when she mentioned a book. I literally almost fell to my knees and I was like, I cannot read 8 books a day.
Yeah, and this makes me think, like, when you look at your benchmark, right? So that benchmark is a gain. So you have that benchmark. There's a gap between the benchmark 1 and benchmark 2. So what are you doing during that gap to create a new behavior, right? Because
Right, is it a system? Is it a tool? Is it lack of knowledge?
It's really hard, and this is why I call myself a procrastinator, is because if you tell me at the end of 2023 I need to do X, I have 12 months to do that. I know it's terrible. So I have to play tricks with my mind. So like the 12-week year, right? Well, if I set a goal for 12 weeks, it's a lot different than setting a goal for 52 weeks. And I'm going to go further. So I literally, knowing that I can get it done and I'm not seeing the level of growth that I should because I'm a procrastinator, because I know I have 12 months to do it, I have to make those benchmarks really close to each other and really strong, right?
You got to trick yourself. You've got to gamify it with yourself in a way.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one who's going to know those benchmarks unless you're sharing with them with a coach.
Right. Yeah. And I've been with my coaches for 1.5 years, 2 years. And I actually told the truth and told them how my brain operates, because I was cheating the coaching system by reaching the goals, knowing that I could triple the goals that I desired to do. But because of the way I was playing the game, I was being status quo. Terrible thing.
Well, you were paying for that. That was your monetary loss then.
Well, it's like, yeah, I'll use and I said this on the call earlier today, the whole, I knew at 50, I wanted to be at my healthiest weight and my healthiest being. But I also, when I made that goal at 33, I knew there was 17 years between now and 50.
And what did you turn last week?
49.
Okay, so good job on doing 50, 48 years of bad habits in a year. Like you could have been working in chunks of time, friend, and now
Now and I will accomplish the goal because that's just how I operate. And what I've learned from all of the experience is what would it have looked like if I focused on one thing, one small goal, and just hopped from goal to goal to goal. And no regrets. I love my life. I have like really made amazing strides in every aspect of my life. And how much better could it have been had I just followed some systems, right?
and been truthful with your coaches,
I know, and I pay them too.
right?
And not little money. What's wrong with me? So extraordinary results require great answers, right? The research and experience of others is the best place to start when looking for answers. We forget this. Who has gone before you?
No, they're all pioneers. They're the first ones to do this ever.
And what does it look like? Like, how difficult would it be to ask 4 great questions? What steps did you take to get started? What obstacles did you see? How did you overcome those obstacles? If you were to do it all over again, what would you do differently, right? And those are just 4 that came off the top of my head. And yet you don't need to ask more than that because they're going to give you information, and that information and those answers are going to force you to take a new behavior and run with it.
Good. David and I are going back and forth with Albert Einstein quotes, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results or
Right.
even better results. So if it's not working, why are we doing it? Is it because it's comfortable? Are we in that comfort zone where we don't want to get uncomfortable and hit those goals? And that's only a question you can answer is, Tiffany has heard this from me, but when people say, well, that's the way we've always done it, my body shuts down. I can't mask that face. There's no poker face left because that's usually just a productivity and goal killer right there.
Yep. Yeah. And when we get into this next chapter, because this was so convicting, like I've read this book 15 times. And yet at the moment in time of where I am today, I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. I never experienced it that way. What if I had seen this, but a man walks in a river, not the same place ever, right? Because at the end of the day, you're a different person and the river is different. So it's okay.
Sometimes
Sometimes the what?
the river is no longer there and it's
Drought season.
drought. It's a drought. Go get your
So-
hose.
Yeah. So the big ticket items on this, and if I were to write anything at all, think big and specific, right? Think about the possibilities, benchmark and trend for the best answers, and don't make those benchmarks large.
Mm-mm.
Make them small benchmarks. I think that's my biggest lesson that I have learned over the course of this year, because you can just make it happen so much faster when you benchmark and trend sooner than later. All right, now we're going into part 3. So we did the questions, we did the answers, and now we're going to get the extraordinary results, right? So unlocking the possibilities within you. Great businesses are built one productive person at a time. When I read that, I thought to myself, it's like you have a team leader, and that team leader sets a benchmark. The next team leader comes in and sets the next benchmark, and so on and so on. So great businesses are built one productive person at a time. So don't be shy in bringing people into your world, because they're just going to one up whatever it is you're building when you hire the right person. So even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. Will Rogers, truth. This is
Right?
a
And if it's
that quote.
horses, they're going to poop on you.
So again, we have grids. We have the productivity, which, this is the, wow, why can't I? Iceberg. Thank you. So we have the iceberg. It took me a minute. And you only see the productivity at the top, right? But underneath that, somebody had to really focus on the purpose and really focus on the priority.
And let's back up for a sec, because when you're watching a top agent at Mega Agent or at Family Reunion or on our stages, you're only seeing the top of that iceberg. You're not seeing what the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, or all the purpose and priority to get to productivity. And I think it's really important I actually draw this mountain every time big speakers that I'm fascinated with are speaking, and I draw the line. And what do they see? And then underneath it, then I'm notating what are the things they're talking about that they did to get there. I'm also a doodle note person. So this is how my brain works.
Yep.
But you don't always see what's beneath the water on this. But these are the clarity pieces that bring you to productivity. And then you got to have a new mountain in the water, a new iceberg.
Well, and then, so once you get that purpose in place, the priority in place, and then you're seeing the productivity, now everybody gets to see, oh, you're making money. Look how lucky that person is. They're making money. Nobody has any idea what under that water looks like, right? And we need to remember that. And we need to remember that for ourselves as well, because we need to give ourselves grace when we're looking at the other person's iceberg and their profit is like up to the sky and we're just got a little piece out of the water. That's okay. Totally okay. Because we're on our own journeys. So life with purpose. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself, right? And I'm actually gonna unshare the screen because Brooke, you and I are gonna have a convo. So Ebenezer Scrooge. Who's read this chapter?
But who knows who Ebenezer Scrooge is?
Okay.
I knew David would.
So this was so good. Somebody described to me, who was Ebenezer Scrooge before that night when he had visitors?
He was a grumpy old rich man.
Right. And what did he do?
He became an ungrumpy rich man.
Right. But when he was a grumpy man, he either made money or he counted money. And the counting money was his quote unquote fun. Yeah. But then he had a visitor, right? And so Gary goes through explaining this whole story of he was this one type of person. Then he had this realization of what life should really be about. And it's not about the money, it's about the purpose. And then his whole world changed, right? So it's fantastic and great that we desire to have X amount of dollars in our life. It's even more fantastic and great on what we're going to do with that money in our life.
Money is only good as what it can do for you and the people around you, right? Like, yeah, can you roll around in your money? Can cover it up with at night, but that man was also alone.
Right.
Right. He was alone every night in his house by himself, no Christmas visitors, no cheer, no happiness, nothing.
And honestly, did anybody really like him?
No, I felt bad for him.
Right? Did he even like himself, honestly?
No.
Right? So when he turned around and he lived by priority and lived by productivity and really figured out what an extraordinary life looked like, what ended up happening?
His life got bigger and he got happier.
And what happened to the people around him?
They got better, they got happier, they got richer.
Yeah. Yeah. I live by the philosophy, if I died tomorrow, my family would be financially taken care of. If I live another 50 years, I'll leave a legacy. Because at the end of the day, it's not how much money you make, it's what you do with that and what you do with the opportunity that it provides you.
Right. It was Tiny Tim.
Right?
Right. He needed a surgery. They had no food. They were huddled around a piece of coal.
Yeah.
Who's had a Scrooge boss in their life, by the way, where it's scarcity mindset on everything, yet you know that there are things in abundance, but that Ebenezer Scrooge lived in scarcity mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think now that I like heard it that way, I'm like, you know, we should all have the opportunity to be visited by someone to change one part of our lives. Because
Well,
there's
that's so
always
true,
something.
right? So usually we usually have a kickoff of a negative interaction reaction or something in our life that forces us to look at the things and realign our goals. It's usually something negative and impactful. We never hit a huge goal and say, you know what? I am so mad that I hit this goal. I'm gonna reprioritize. Like,
Yeah, I know. Well, what is it? Logic makes you think, emotion makes you act.
yep.
I am extremely more emotional when it's negative than I am when it's positive. So I don't move a lot when things are going great because things are going great. So we talked about our purpose sets our priority and our priority determines the productivity our actions produce, right? Who we are and where we want to go determine what we do and what we accomplish. So where do you want to go? Anybody have it's 10 years from now and this is what my world looks like?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I see you.
Yeah, I do. So for anybody that was on the growth call yesterday, I am going to be job optional by the time I'm 45. I'm going to have $2.7 million in the bank accessible to me. I'm going to have 10,000 or more dollars coming into me every month, just coming to me based on the work I'm doing now. So I'm giving myself, so it's not quite 10 years, it's like 10 and a half years by the time I'm 45.
10.42.
Specific that is.
Yeah, and then that date is 6/22/2033. It's written down every day.
So because that's so specific, what does your daily life look like?
Yeah, I probably should be making more phone calls. You guys are we said that at the beginning about not being able to make a phone. But my life has definitely changed a lot. I quit my corporate job in April to become a full-time realtor, but I've had my real estate license for 10 and a half years. So it took me 9 years to quit my corporate job, corporate America. And so my day, I mean, I do a lot of focusing on real estate, but I also focus on my family. I will say for those of you who are like, I don't want to be a 24/7 real estate agent. I don't want anyone to ask me to show them a house on Thanksgiving, which I've heard the horror stories of agents being asked to show houses on Thanksgiving. I help take care of my aging parents. And so one of the benefits of leaving my corporate job was for that flexibility. So it's hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that goes right into the next statement that happiness happens on the way to fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't wait to be happy. You figure out what it looks like to be happy as you build and grow. And a lot of people miss that. And financially wealthy people are those who have enough money coming in without having to work to finance their purpose. So like Ebenezer Scrooge, who counted every penny, he was financially wealthy. He just wasn't financing his purpose, right? It's so funny that a children's story like that is so impactful in the world of how to run businesses. All right. And then happiness happens on the way to fulfillment. Discover your big why. Absent an answer, you have to pick a direction, right? We have to know where we're going. Brooke, anything you want to add to this?
I'll say that you can't put your personal life on hold while you build your business life to fulfill the other things. You've got to find, and I know work-life balance is a myth, but you do have to set some expectations. You do have to have ground rules when it comes to yourself and in your family. So that way, 10 years down the line, when you're that $2.7 million person, your family is still there. because they're not going to see your goal and they're not excited about your goals. What they're going to remember is that you weren't there, that you weren't available for them. So just be really careful along the way about sharing goals and why you're so tuned into certain things. Part of my lack of communication with my family hurt me for so long because they didn't understand the drive on why I was doing things and what my big why was. They just heard mom's busy, mom's busy, mom's busy. Whereas when I started sharing my goals with my older children and my husband, now they're bought into it because they understand that everything I'm doing is for them and us to live a certain way in our lives.
Yeah, and you know, my biggest fear, and I will be angry and hunt the planet if it happens, is if I reach my financial goal and I'm ready to live the rest of my life and I died the next day. Like, so that's why I'm not going to risk it, right? Like, I chose the first 49 years of my life, I chose to be all in with my family, and my family still says I work a lot, and yet my 18-year-old now realizes, because she's out on her own, what it looks like to actually pay the bills. So she's a little more appreciative. So if you have young children that don't understand, they will eventually understand.
Oh, do
Um,
they?
They do. I mean, you have 2 of age. They
Yep.
understand more. So, but keep the balance. Like my kids, I took them to Disney. I took them on road trips to Myrtle Beach. Like, we did things. Did I hustle and work? Absolutely. Did I make them aware that I was hustling and working? Absolutely, because that's what I wanted their legacy to be. So just keep that in mind. All right. So your action item for today, get that piece of paper out. Pick a direction that you are going to go starting today. And don't stop. If you haven't implemented that 66-day challenge or that 66-day habit, do it today. What does it look like? Where it should be? And then take action.
But you got to
But
start
this was a
moving.
moving.
You got to start moving. You got to start. Like, we've got to, if you need a kick in the pants, call us. We love to kick you
Oh,
and get
yes.
you going. I meant that in like a like, I'm not going to actually kick you. I
Are
mean,
you
I'm-
sure, Brooke? I feel like you do.
if you asked it, I would kick you. But if you need that help with the lead domino, reach out to us. We'd love to help you figure out that lead domino and how to help your accountability partner help you. Because without that strong accountability partner, you may not hit the goal, because we are our worst accountability partners ever.
Yeah. And, you know, and all, I mean, what I love about this book and the way we're doing it is 2 chapters is like an hour's worth of reading, if that. And, you know, obviously it's a book, but it's literally starts on day 1. And as you go through the book, it just builds, just like that domino. This book just builds on one domino after the other. So if you haven't had time, take advantage of it. Go through the book, really go through the exercises. We're reading up to page 174 next week. We're going to continue on with part 3, the extraordinary results. And Brooke, I'm going to let you do the workshop piece.
Yep. So here's the link to the workbook if you did not have it. And then here's what our assignment is this time. It's the goal setting to the now. So your someday goal was something you were supposed to do in a previous one. So now, based on your someday goal, what's the one thing you can do in the next 5 years to stay on track? Right? And then it's going to ask you, what's the one thing you can do this year? And what can you do this month? Right? So this kind of really sounds like a GPS and a 411 broken down a little differently, doesn't it?
Well, you can't really do a GPS or a 411 if you don't have that someday goal or that 5-year one. Look at that.
And-
Weekly, daily, right this second.
Like, what right now, if you were to say right now, if I did this, it would be the lead domino to help me hit my big someday goal of the $2.7 million in the bank, $10,000 coming into me, actually, and I've stolen your job optional thing is my favorite thing to talk about in 6 personal perspectives. But
I
this
love
is
that
lining
thought.
up those dominoes.
Yeah.
This is lining up those dominoes because that someday goal starts with one step towards it. You can't get there in one day. We got to get the education behind it. We've got to get momentum, training, tools, systems, models, and sometimes the right people and leverage behind you to make you hit that goal. Because you can't do it alone.
All right, tell me what you heard. There's 14 of you.
And some of you are talking, but you're muted. So the way this works is you unmute so we can hear you.
You're so 2020 if you're talking while you're muting.
I need the little flag that says you're on mute that I used to have that someone stole.
I gotta print you a new one.
Thank you.
One of the things you just said, it, you can't do it alone. We're on these calls, we're supporting each other, we're getting the ideas, you know, getting very granular, sharing those goals. It could be scary. I started sharing that goal that I shared with you all, probably like a year or two ago when I first joined Keller Williams, and now it. Like, so sometimes I say it and I'm like, people must think I'm crazy.
I don't think you
But
are.
I've been sharing it for 2 years. So I'm like, whatever, this is my big goal, my big ass goal. And if you're, even if you're like, I'm sorry for swearing.
No, it's okay. I like it. I
Even
like
if
it.
You're scared. You don't know. You're like, I don't know what I want to do in 5 years, 10 years. Pick one. And then if it changes, great, then it changes because you've started to like drill down into it. But write it down,
Yeah.
Just write down something, because if
And
you
you
don't
know what? You shared that goal with me, that big goal. Like, girl, we had like a big session when I first came to the region and we came up with a plan. So she shared this giant, what she thought was an outlandish goal. And I was like, that is so attainable. That is so attainable. And you were like, what? I was like, yeah, here's what we need to do. You need to get into production full time. How can we do that in the next 6 months? And I gave you a date. Remember, I said, by this date, you need to be out. You need
Yeah.
to quit your full-time job because, girl, you had capped. You had
I know, I had capped part-time.
Right?
I think you actually had me increase it too. I don't think the number is that high.
I did. I had you
Yeah.
increase it. I did. And because I believed in you and I knew you had the right mindset towards it. You just needed a kick in the pants to get going and a
Literal one.
date. And you keep working on it. But now, for those of you who are in this plateau or you're in that painfulness of I'm at a ceiling and I don't know how to break through, what is one thing you could do right now to start cracking the glass on that ceiling? Is it sharing with your partner or the people who support you in your life that goal? Is it something as simple as, I need somebody to do daily errands for me, or I need a house cleaner, or I need a meal service, or I need to take CV and hire my first hire, which is an admin, or someone to take something as simple as transaction coordinators. How many of you have transaction coordinators in your office? You should all be raising your hand in Portsmouth everywhere, because I know you do. But you're all like, no, I know how to work my deals the best. I'm the best at the
Nobody
paperwork.
can do it like I could do it.
I can do it. I'll ask you this. Is that a dollar producing event for you? Or is that worth the amount of money for someone else to do all that work for you? If we took an hour or two off your day of putting out stupid fires, how many more people could you call?
Mhm.
How many more people could you text, send snail mail to, or happy mail?
Yeah.
But nope, we're control freaks. I do my paperwork the best.
All right, Brooke, I want to hear a couple more. Who else has got action items? What else did you hear, to either an action item or what you heard today that you're going to implement?
Did you see David's in the chat? I know sometimes it's loud where he is, so he can't always come off of mute. He wants a butt kicking. Got it. Kick David's butt. Sending a calendar invite.
David, do you have a coach?
Not yet.
Okay. You and I should talk, and we'll talk about all the coaching opportunities out there for you.
Hey,
They're a team.
let me correct. Productivity coach, yes. Obviously, I need to think bigger picture to catch up with Lindsay and her 8.5 years in.
Oh,
Yeah.
she just disappeared. She's like, no, oh, geez, there she is. She was like, I'm out. I'm not helping you.
I'm out. See ya. Yeah.
They did. They took a first step. They responded to an email from me.
Yeah.
Big step.
Lindsay, anything you want to share? No? And honestly, you're 100%. And here's my other thing. You guys can't be each other's accountability partners. Gotta
Mm-mm,
bring the third party in.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yep, I know. I get you, girl. I know. My husband is not my accountability partner because I will bark back and he'll be like, all right, sorry. Walking away.
When you have a strong personality, you definitely need a third party that's stronger than you. And we marry opposites, so usually the partner is not the accountability person.
No, this is why
Mark
Tiffany,
don't want that. Yeah. Why Tiffany's what?
one of my accountability partners.
Yeah. Mhm. And Brooke's
I
one of
will-
mine. Go ahead, Corinna.
I will say, getting a coach it does change your shift, but you definitely have to get the right coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm on my third coach, and this is like the coach for me, but you have to know you and what you need to be coached to.
And you can't feel guilty on firing a coach. I've kept a coach way too long because I felt guilty about firing them. Don't do that.
It's business. This is business. This is if they're not growing you in your business and you're not comfortable talking about those things. This is a business. They know that and they feel it too sometimes. So be the person to end the relationship and move on. My first coaches were not my first coaches either. And the right coach.
They'll come up.
Yep.
Anybody else want to share? Brooke, you and I talk an awful lot. I'd love to hear from others.
I just zipped my lip like I physically.
Mhm.
I can share something.
Yes.
You guys don't have to sit there and talk the whole time, although we enjoy it thoroughly.
It's like dinner and a show. I know.
We do appreciate it. When we were just talking about when Tiffany was talking about the Ebenezer Scrooge part, about living with purpose, how his world changed when like purpose got involved. It just kind of reminds me to revisit like my goals and my big why, like constantly, because I have to do that constantly.
Yeah.
Revisiting the why, got to revisit the why again, because otherwise it just kind of drifts off to the side and just kind of like going through doing work,
We get into the minutia of every day, right? We become like a machine. When you've been doing this for a while, come in, do my calls, go to appointments, but what if you could shake it up? What if you could add something or take something off your plate with the transaction coordinator?
Yeah.
Free you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not scary, I promise.
What else? Anybody else have anything you want to share?
I'd like to share something.
Hello.
It might be a little off topic, not really, but so I had a job interview today because I've been feeling a little unsure of myself, I guess. So it just so happened the job interview was at the same time as this One Thing group. And I literally got in my car and I was looking at my calendar and they both came up at the same time. And I was just sitting there and I was like, I don't know, I had that moment and I ended up at the market center. So
I love that. So based on that, number one, the universe was telling you that you should go in a certain direction. What immediate activity can you take in your world? And rhetorical question, you don't have to answer it. That's going to support you so that the decision of being here part of this group is a win for you.
yeah, I already have some ideas. I took some notes during the meeting. So, and also I revisited some of the older Ignite classes last night and, just like reviewing everything. I'm still very new. I'm 1 year in. So I'm really trying to get that going. It's just the market is so crazy right now. Everyone's talking about it. And there's just that negativity kind of gets to me sometimes. But, just keep doing what I have
Yep.
to do to get business.
Yeah, so a few things to share with you is, in 2010, when the market was awful, I sold 70 properties. And granted, it was only $8 million in volume. 70 properties today would be like, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 million. So I worked really hard for that $8 million in volume. What you're gonna learn, number one, get rid of all that noise that's telling you the market is awful or that things are going to be stressful, because buyers buy and sellers sell because of life events. Your one mission is to be in front of as many people as you can. So when those life events show up, you're present for it. Right. And I'll use Maine, and only because I know stats. There are 813,000 properties in the state of Maine. Thanks, Brooke. In order to reach your goal, how many households do you have to have in your world that know you, like you, and if they have a life event that causes them to need real estate or a family member, they will think of you. And then reach out to Brooke or I and whomever your productivity coach is, if you have one, and have the conversation is, how do I systemize the conversation so every 11 days they're getting some type of touch so they never forget who I am.
Was it this call we talked about this where limiting beliefs came up where people don't buy in the winter? Was it this call or was it, maybe I was at Lindsay and David's Market Center where it came up. That's a limiting belief. So listening to what a seasoned agent says, who may only have sold 4 homes this year, but they've been in it for 17 years and they have the same profile pic since when they first started, that's their limiting belief. That's their limiting belief. And their limiting beliefs can't be your limiting beliefs, right? So you've got to cut through the noise. And if you need help cutting through the noise, that's what coaches do.
Yes.
Coaches
And
will
I would-
help keep you on.
Yeah. And to Brooke's point about people don't buy or sell during the holidays, the biggest objection is I don't want to show my house during the holidays because I'll be busy with guests. How do you overcome that is say, well, why don't you share with me what days and times you'll be unavailable to show the house, and we can set a schedule up so that you're not being bothered during that time, right? Like, how do you set it up so that it's a win for them and they don't miss the opportunity to get their buyer today? Because the one thing we know about buyers in the winter is that they're moving for a purpose, because nobody likes to move in the snow.
Oh, and how about this? What if you were to help set them up with a cleaner so that their house was so clean during the holidays, it was one last thing they had to worry about for the showings, and then the cleaners paid at closing?
Yeah.
Like there's things you can do.
Email one of us. There's, and I'm sure you have it as well. It's the 11 reasons why you should sell in the winter, in the holiday season. So if you don't have that, reach out to Brooke or I and we'll get it to you.
Limiting belief. Something always happens. People are ready. Finances change. Kids leave. They're ready to invest, buy, sell, refer. Remember, because refer is still an actionable item, even though they're not the actual person transacting. They're the cause. They're the domino of the transaction. So when an agent says to you, nobody buys in December, okay, move along.
And when an agent says, I've been in the business for 20 years, and blah, 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 whatever they finish that statement with, my next question is, oh, that's fantastic. How many homes did you sell in the last year?
Oh, how about the
I
last
don't
6
care,
months?
right? I don't care how long they've been in the business. I care how productive they've been over the last 6 months to a year.
And maybe you shouldn't say it as snarky as that. You could be like, I would love to know how you stayed at such a high production level. What was your production level in the last 6 months? How many units have you turned over?
I feel like that's a little passive aggressive.
Well, I wouldn't say it with that face. I do find kind ways to say things, but the seasoned agent thing is always my triggering item. It is. I don't care if you've been doing this for 80 years.
it's mine too. I can't stand when agents say that, but what I do is after they say it, I always go back and I look them up and see how much they sold last year. And I generally sell more than they did.
Well,
know-
how about this? How about instead of wasting that time, you ask the question?
Yeah.
I don't. Or is it just a personal ha?
Well, no, it for me, it's like I have to have data.
Yeah.
Yes, but is that data worth your time?
Well, and honestly, I love to hear them tell me that they only sold 3 houses in the last year because then I'm like, oh,
Oh, really?
oh,
As a seasoned agent?
wow.
Can
Your
I?
potato chip missed the seasoning aisle on the conveyor belt.
Can
My
I say
next
something
answer is,
about
oh, we should
season?
talk about the golden handoff. What would it look like if I supported your database and gave you 25% referral fees? Because if you've been in the business for 20 years, there's probably more business out there. Say it a different way. But yeah.
I like that a lot. Can I say something about so when you think about seasoned agents, I actually had a listing recently this summer, and an agent that is like well known in the area and owns their own brokerage. Like they're a luxury person in Andover, Mass, for anybody that knows Massachusetts. They came with an offer and my clients said no, my sellers said no, they held out, and we ended up getting 2 above asking offers weeks later. But the buyer's agent essentially told me the same thing, that she's been in the business for a long time, and that that eventually I would learn. And I was so taken aback. I was like, what? Like, basically implying that I don't know what I'm doing, so that I should have accepted 100,000 under asking because she knows what she's doing, and she's she's the broker owner, and it's a luxury, office and things like that. So you just never, like Brooke said, it's their own limiting belief. Because again, we sold it over asking and had 2 offers over asking a handful of weeks later. Just
And
timing.
here's my deal with that. And this might be, you could, whatever. But when stuff like that happens, I make sure to send out a just sold email and make sure that
I
that's-
should have. I should be like, yes, that house you wanted my sellers to accept literally 100,000 under asking just sold for 5 over, but still 5,000 over, but whatever.
Thank you, cards. Thank you, cards.
Thank you for showing my property, just so you can get an update on what the market's doing. We sold for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add this to your list of properties for CMAs.
Because we do need to have a few of those little wins in our lives. They're not great, but it's what keeps us going.
We're competitive. At the end of the day, we're competitive.
Yeah,
But don't poo-poo our new agents, because they have the time. They have 2 T's, time and tenacity. And I love, you have all the time in the world. You're a busy agent. How are you going to give me the best service as your client if you've got 18 clients that you are not leveraging any of the other things out?
Yep.
I'm going to go with the new agent over somebody who's seasoned potato chip any day, because I know that person is so focused on making sure they win with me across the board so that they get that great testimonial and that we stay in relationship.
Yep.
New within a year or 2. And if you're a dual career working towards full time, it depends. New. When I hear this, it's usually people who have 8, 9, 10 years plus in the industry, not Lindsay White. She would never be mean like that, just so you know. She's the nicest person in all of Connecticut. So it's one. You are not earning Christmas points right now, David. She's in the other room and can reach over and hit you. Like, you better be careful. But it's true. I usually hear that. In newer agents, under 10 transactions, maybe. How would you define a new agent, Tiff?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think a new agent is under 5, because there's some seasoned agents that don't even do 10, right?
They're a dabbler. Those are my favorite. I've been dabbling in real estate for 18 years.
Yeah.
Well, I heard a stat, and it was like, if you average the sales of all the, of all the agents, the average agent is like, closes 3 deals a year.
Yeah.
I saw that stat. When was it? I can't remember. It was like last week. I saw that stat. And they said the average agent, when looking at all of the agents, the average agent closes 3. So if you're not closing 3, you're not even average.
And who wants to be average?
Well, yeah, no, but I was just thinking, oh my God, 3. I don't think I've ever had a year where I just closed 3. So I was just like, it kind of like took me back. It's like, what the heck is that? Closing 3.
That's what makes us great agents. All right, my friends, it is officially 3:00. I love my group. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. Hopefully you get value out of these calls. If not, let us know too.
Keep showing up for pain then. I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.